Thank you. Y'all did good to come out on such short notice. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm delighted to see everybody here and to be in this great congregation with your great pastor. He's a great preacher, he's a great leader and minister, and so thank you for opening up the doors and all of your congregation people from here. And I was glad to see the women of the church. I always want to acknowledge the women of the church, who are the backbones. I come from my great grandfather, my daddy, and my brother, who's a good friend of Dr. Booth's, are all preachers. And so I feel welcome to be here and home this morning, so thank you. I want to thank some other people here, the People's Justice Project, the Ohio Student Association, my friend and former colleague, Laura Young, Akundayo Egiliki. Did I get it half right? I'm so glad you all are here, and I thank you for your leadership, and you're going to hear from him. Molly Shack, Bishop Palmer, Carol Gardner, Dr. Booth again, Shirlene Anderson, Marnita Asher, and the Freedom School family. How many folk here from Freedom School? We are, woo! So glad to have everybody. This is your election, and you can move us to the future, or you can sit home or vote for third-party candidates who can't win and let us drift back toward the past. I'm not going back to the past. I'm not going to leave it for my grandchildren to have to fight these battles all over again. We done been there and done that. We're going to move forward, and we sure do have enough challenges, and I just welcome these young people who are fighting the same things we fought, but you just keep at it. I just looked at the statistics, suspension figures for preschool children in Ohio. In the most recent data, 43% of those suspended out of school and nearly 49% of those expelled were black children. You should not be we should be saying no more of this. No more of this. Black children also represented 21% of those referred to law enforcement. This is all Columbus, y'all. And 32% of those subject to school-based arrests. Stop it. This is the school-to-prison pipeline, but we say it's the cradle-to-prison pipeline from birth. And we've just got to stand up and say we're not going to have this anymore, and I appreciate the young people who are standing up to challenge these kinds of unjust policies. Black children were underrepresented or overrepresented in preschool suspensions. They represented 17% of children enrolled in preschool in Ohio in the most recent data, but they were only 11%, but no preschool child should be suspended from school for any reason. And if we have teachers in those classrooms who don't know how to manage a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, they need to go do something else. And I've never understood why any child could be suspended for truants entirely for not going to school. Find out why they're not coming to school and get them in. Don't leave them out on the street. Don't leave them hanging. Don't put them out there as a candidate. So I just want to applaud the work of these young people who are trying to change school discipline policy in Columbus and in Ohio, and I hope you will support them and you'll hear something more from them shortly. Child poverty is unacceptable in this country. It's a shame that we let our children be the poorest group of Americans, and the younger they are, the poorer they are. And child poverty is on the ballot in this national election. If you want us to move forward and make sure that people have decent jobs and can work at a decent wage, and that our children have a chance to escape poverty, 14.5 million American children are poor. And 5.6 million of them are extremely poor. And you've got a huge number of poor children here in Ohio. You need to change it. Black children and young adults were disproportionately poor. Nearly 48%, almost 1 in 2, y'all, of our black children, and over 31% of black 18 to 34-year-olds were poor in 2015. So we need to get out there and vote for our poor children, but the millennials need to get out there and vote for themselves, to get out of poverty and to get jobs and to get hope on the future. You got almost 56,000 poor children in Columbus, and I hope we are going to change that. and we want to end child poverty. And I'm just here to tell you what you already know. You got to get out and vote. This is not a spectator sport, democracy. And if you don't go vote, somebody else is going to lead your life for you. And so you really need to use the power that you have and make sure that your vote counts, and that you are focused, because if you don't vote, you don't got no credit at the political marketplace. And once you vote and get them in, you work with us and other groups here who are working for children and for the poor and for working people and for women, fair treatment, to make sure that we hold them accountable. And that's about movement building, and I think we've got all the elements of movement building, and we've got to have a new movement, and it can't be like the old movement, but we've got to build that new movement and bridge to the future. I want to just share a few little things before I sit down so that other people can sit up. But I hope that your vote is going to be the most important business. Ohio is one of the most important states. And I just hope that y'all are going to lead the country in making sure that we're moving toward the future. So you get out here and get I know all the preachers are going to be trying to get their congregations out. I hope every millennial is going to get out here and vote, because it depends on you. You're going to set the future course for this nation, and everybody's got to get out and vote. I just want to end with 3 little lessons from Noah's Ark. One is, don't miss the boat. And if we don't have educated children, if we don't have children who are healthy, if we don't have children who are safe from police violence and from gun violence, this country is going to miss the boat to the future. A majority of all of our children here in Ohio of all races cannot read or compute in 4th and 8th grade, and over 80% of black children cannot read or compute at grade level, and over 70% of Latino children in Ohio can't read or compute at grade level. What is a child going to do in this globalizing world that can't read or write at the most fundamental levels? So this election is about literacy. It's about education. It's about breaking up a separate but still unequal education system. It's about getting investments in teachers and not in corporate executives. So this election is about education and closing that gap and keeping our children in school and keeping them out of that cradle to school to prison pipeline. States are spending on average 3 times per pupil, more per prison, In Ohio, a little bit better. Y'all 1.7 times more likely to spend money on sending children to prison than to keeping them in school. That's the dumbest investment policy we could think about. And it's not making us safer. So your vote is a vote for education. Your staying home is a vote against education. Okay, or your vote for some third-party candidate who can't win is just a wasted vote. You can't do that. So just get out there and let's vote. The second is we're all in the same boat from Noah's Ark. All these people who are just going crazy because this country is becoming increasingly diverse and non-white. We've had a great African-American president, which has run some folk just absolutely crazy. And now we got a chance to have our first woman president, which can take us on. Get out there and move us forward. We have got to confront our birth defects as a nation. We had the right dream, but we didn't practice that dream. And we excluded all Native Americans and engaged in genocide, all black folk, all women, and all non-propertied white men from the electoral process. We couldn't vote. And we've been struggling to stop that and to overcome these birth defects. This is the election to begin to make sure we finish that job, and so that our daughters as well as our sons can see that they can be anything in America, that our brown young people and our Native American young people and our African American young people know that they can do anything that anybody in this country can do. And that's what this election is about. So don't stay home, get out there, take some others. And the last big lesson from Noah's Ark, there's 6 more, but they told me not to say them, is that remember that the Ark was built by amateurs and that the Titanic was built by experts. Movements do not start from the top. They start with y'all from the bottom, okay? The civil rights movement came from people out there in communities across the country who just got sick from the Miss Hamers, who just got sick of being sick and tired. And they were the ones who sort of formed the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party and went to Atlantic City, refused to take 5 votes to reform that Democratic Party, but ended up transforming the Democratic Party in America. We got to finish that job for Miss Hamer knows, because they, from the bottom, with nothing, and after their beatings and after their arrest and mistreatments, transformed the country. Movements come from the bottom, from young people like you. And so I just hope that you will understand that you are it. Dr. King's not coming back. A whole lot of people are waiting for Dr. King to come back and save us. Dr. King's gone, but he left us a legacy to carry on. Fred Shuttlesworth is gone. But Fred Shuttlesworth, I think, was the most courageous man, and y'all know him from Cincinnati. He's not coming back, but boy, you remember, and you go vote for You take Shuttlesworth to the pool with you, the voting booth with you. Let's thank Ella Bacon, take her to the voting booth with us, because she trained new generations of sit-in comers. She was all of our mamas, and that's carried on in that tradition. So let's just take Ella Bacon to that voting booth with us. Let's make sure you take Tamir to the voting booth. He can't vote, but you can vote for him, and Trayvon, and all of these young people who have lost their lives to unjust. Take them. You're their vote. Just say thank you to Medgar Evers. Let's say thank you to all those people on the March to Selma, Miss Louiso and James Reb, who lost their lives trying to get all of us a right to vote. They can't come, but you can go. Let's make sure you take Sandra Bland. Let's take everybody who's been unjustly killed by law enforcement officials in Ohio. Take them to the ballot box when you get here to vote on November 8th. They can't do it, but you can do it. And let's say thank you to Dr. King and all those others. I took my granddaughters down to Selma a couple of years ago, and I heard Miss Amelia Bonkin talk, and all of us were all there going to thank Miss Boynton for all she had done to get the right to vote. And Ms. Boynton, after everybody finished, was sitting in her wheelchair, over 100 years old, and she said, y'all all coming up here telling me about thank you for all I've done to get your vote. Get off of my shoulders and go out there and build your own road to freedom to carry on this struggle. So I want y'all to do what Ms. Boynton said y'all supposed to do, and this is your opportunity here in Ohio. You are a bellwether state. You can determine the outcome of this election. It ain't about you. It's about something a lot bigger than you. Justice is on the ballot. Freedom is on the ballot. Education for our children is on the ballot. Hope and everything is on the ballot. So you get out there and you show what millennials can do to move this country in the right direction, and everybody will owe you a debt of gratitude. Let me just end with Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman. When I wear them around my neck every day, and we don't know from hard, right? And when I get tired and think I can't make no difference, I just sit down here and rub and get myself up again. And Harriet Tubman, I just remember, she said she, in her Underground Railroad, these were two theoretically illiterate women, but they were brilliant. And they were committed to freedom and to justice, not just for themselves, but for other people. And Harriet Tubman on the back of this says, I never lost a passenger on my Underground Railroad. I don't know any bus company or airline that can boast that kind of record. But the thing about Harriet Tubman is when she got to freedom, and she had to be brilliant, she could get herself to freedom by following that North Star. And she always then came back to bring other people to freedom with us. And so those of us who have had better go back and hold and bring forward those who have not, because the top can't stay up there without the bottom. So everybody's got to vote, and everybody's got to remember Harriet Tubman and make sure we go out. Freedom is not just about our own personal ambitions. It's about lifting the community and lifting those left behind. And Sojourner didn't take nothing off anybody. And I just had the pleasure of going up to dedicate a ship with the Navy Secretary. It's going to be named the Sojourner Truth Ship. Harriet Tubman is now in the back of our currency, and these women are getting recognized. But Sojourner Truth didn't take nothing off anybody. I'm going to give her the last word, because she was eloquent, she was brilliant, didn't have any formal education, but she didn't miss a beat in making sure that she as a woman was respected, that she as a black person was respected. And one day she got heckled by an old white man in the audience who said to her, "I'm an old slave woman. I don't care anymore about your anti-slavery talk than for an old flea bite." And she snapped back at him and said, "That's all right. The Lord willing, I'm going to keep you scratching." We don't need a whole lot of big leaders with good platforms. We need a lot of strategic fleas. The civil rights movement had a lot of strategic fleas who bit and who died and who protested and who stayed on them dogs. And there was enough of them, they flicked some of us off, the rest of us kept coming back. And that's the lesson I want these young people. Social change and transforming social change is hard. It's hard, but you have to stay in there. And you have to have waves of people who pick up, and some of us get worn out, you come on, and the next wave come in, and you get a little rest. You must never give up. And we got to keep that flea corps voting, and we got to keep that flea corps organizing and speaking up for children who are mistreated. And so that's what this election is about. But this is a watershed election. It's going to determine whether our nation moves forward or backwards. I've said it 3 or 4 times, can't go back. So you go out and you vote, and you get 10, 15, 20 people to go out and vote, because if you are not voting, you don't have any credit in the political bank. I can't say it too often. And I'll just tell you that our trump card is the vote. That is our trump card. That's what people died for. That's what people struggled for. That's what people went to jail for. And we need to carry on that tradition. So I hope Ohio and these young people are going to go out there and do our job. All of us are. And the church folk are going to march to them polls and make sure that we move forward. I'm so grateful for what you're doing. But Ohio, you hold a key to the future, and I know you're going to make sure you pave the way for our children and grandchildren. God bless you all.